Now, coming up next, we are going to hear from Marc Orme, Specialist Equity Release Advisor with the Equity Release Experts. And he's going to give us his insights and examples of working with referral partners that help him build his business and enable the introducers to widen their client proposition for their later life clients.
Hello. Hi. You must be out. Hi, Mark. Great. How are you? I'm Marc Orme. I'm an equity release advisor as part of the Equity Release Experts. My background over the last 20 years has been predominantly in financial services, originally in general insurance, before progressing over to equity release and working with referral partners. Since then I've developed into an advisor, so that's now where I spend most of my time, is not just working with introducers, but also helping clients raise equity from their property. Working with introducers is a vital part of my business. I don't generate referrals from other lead sources other than introducers. So those referral partners are critical for my business. It helps me generate the income I want. It gives me access to potential clients who are interested or may require equity release. So fundamentally, they are my business. A typical introducer would be a mortgage broker, an IFA, a wealth manager, an estate agent, but also there are a number of non-regulated introducers. They could be will writers, funeral planners, and they potentially have a client who may be looking or maybe considering equity release as a way of meeting their objectives. What's worked for me working with introducers is actually having contact with them regularly. It's speaking to them about their existing clients, their potential referrals. I make it really simple for an introducer. You can text me, you can phone me, you can email me, whatever works best for you. I'll always come back to you in a timely fashion to ensure we're having those discussions about the potential clients where you think equity release is suitable. Then you can have time to spend talking through how equity release works. What are the different options? How do the products work? What do those features look like? Because ultimately what we want is an introducer who's confident and understands the product. That then will allow them to open up more discussions with their clients. And I think then it's longer term is really developing the relationship by staying in touch. I run a quarterly email with introducers, which is really helpful because what that does is it shares knowledge of the market, it shares case studies, and I do make those case studies specific to the clients I'm dealing with. I also encourage introducers to join me at client meetings. It's a great time for them to see part of how the advice process works, what the steps I take to ensure this is right, and also build their knowledge and confidence. And it's great for me because they know the client, so they provide a great introduction initially, and it works really well. So I have a number of introducers who come to every meeting. I have some introducers who never join me at a meeting, and then some who will just join me on the first meeting to get to know me so they can kind of introduce me better to clients in the future. I think to begin with an introduction to clients, ultimately this is an advice process that's fully regulated, so it's really important to begin with talking around the client options. Actually, is equity release a suitable option for them? What alternatives do they have? Have they considered using things like existing funds? Because I think exploring what are the options is a great standpoint to begin with whether this is suitable. And it wouldn't be uncommon for me to start an initial discussion with a client on the basis that actually you may decide at the end of this meeting this isn't right for you. And I might decide it's not right for you also. But we may then agree that this is right and we then progress that to a second meeting. That gives you the reassurance that we are not trying to rush this process. This is a process that has to be right for you. This is a big decision. So that's the really fundamental part of where we would start the process. So just wanted to spend a bit of time today just understanding what you're potentially considering doing with equity release, and a really good opportunity for me to talk to you more about the products, how they work, and also answer any questions you might have. I think it's then to explore the different types of equity release. So there are two products, and we would discuss the option of a home reversion product or a lifetime mortgage. Most commonly it is a lifetime mortgage that is more suitable, but not always. And I think exploring the different products is vital to kind of understanding what's important to the client. It's really important to talk about the product features and the way the products work, because we need to understand what their short-term objectives are, which often for a client is their most important.
We've got an interest-only mortgage at the moment and it's coming to the end of its term.
We need to make sure this works for them, not just in the short term, but also through to the long term, because they could be a younger client taking out this product and they might want to downsize or move or potentially going to receive inheritance in the future. So these are factors that are really important for kind of deciding what recommendation and the product that I'll put forward to them as the most suitable. When does the term end, just out of curiosity?
Oh, in about a year and a half.
Good. Well, I think that means there's no immediate rush. We've got sort of time to sort of consider the options as well. What other alternatives have you considered? Have you looked at any other types of products that might be suitable for repaying the mortgage at all? It's really important that we help clients understand the products and the options in more detail. We have a duty of care to make sure we look after clients, and asking the right questions and getting the right answers and probing is a really important part of our discussion. It's also important to play back what we've discussed with clients to ensure that they do understand it. There are lots of clients who understand this because they've done a degree of research initially, but actually there are lots of clients that this is brand new to them. They potentially are vulnerable. They potentially have less financial confidence. So it's important that we take the time and ensure that actually they do understand the product and what we're doing. And what do you know about equity release? Have you done any research yourselves or anything you've looked into? This is a big decision on both parties, so I have to make a recommendation that is suitable for them, but they have to have the confidence and the knowledge that what they're doing is right for them as well. Equity release isn't always the right answer for customers. The reality is this might not be the best option, and I might have to have a difficult discussion with them about whether it's appropriate to consider other options before considering equity release, and that could be downsizing. A recent example of this is where a client was struggling to raise sufficient money to repay their interest-only mortgage, but there was a large amount of equity still within the property. And my advice was to not proceed with equity release, to sell their property and to downsize. You can imagine that was a very difficult discussion in a client's kitchen the first time I've met them, but actually that client has taken my advice and has sold their property and has actually purchased a property at a lower value and didn't need to proceed with equity release. So I feel we've made a significant difference to their life without actually going down the route that they probably felt that they was originally going to go down. As we sit in January 2023, the reality is we have a very different landscape to the one we started in January 22. So we have to be very mindful about consumers' requirements, their changing landscape, the risk of inflationary pressures, energy costs, mortgage costs, food. So these are really vital things that we have to take into consideration. Now, equity release can form part of a solution for that, but it has to be given with an holistic approach, because the reality is it can't be the only solution. So looking at ways clients can save money in other areas, potentially consolidating debt, looking at whether it's appropriate to downsize or whether they should actually get back into work if they are retiring, are all fundamental parts of that advice process. My advice is to equity release advisors, we tackle that discussion head on and we do help clients understand what's most appropriate for them. I would encourage all equity release advisors to develop relationships with referral partners and their introducers. Go out and speak to them about the products, talk about how they work, what the options are, and actually be a point of contact. So when they do have a question, a query, you're there to answer it, because that's how my business has developed, by just being reliable, trustworthy, and on hand when they need me most.